Okay, guys, we have our first quiz coming up, and I just want to go through, this is just a quick review. This certainly isn't the only thing you should do to go back and look over everything we've covered so far from 1-1 through 1-4. Okay, but this, in general, this is kind of the summary, okay, a quick review. In 1-1, we did linear, rational, and absolute value equations. Okay, so please make sure you can solve those. A linear equation, x is not in the denominator as it is in a rational equation. In a linear equation, x is not in absolute values as it is in an absolute value equation. Okay, don't get confused. Just because there's a 4 in the denominator, that doesn't mean that this is a rational equation. Okay, this is a linear equation because x is not in the denominator. To solve this, you simply get all your x's together on one side. So realize this is a 3/4 x minus 1x. 3/4 minus 1 is -1/4. We get, if there was something to add over here, I would add it, but there's not. Here I have 2/3 x. That's another way to write that. Minus 2. So then we want all our x's on one side, our numbers on the other. So I'm going to add a 4th x over here. You could subtract 2/3 x. That would be fine as well. Okay, just get x on one side or the other. I like my x's to be positive, so I'm going to add 2/3 plus a 4th. Let's see, 2/3 is 8/12. 8/12 plus 3/12, that's 11/12 x. I'm going to get my numbers all on this side. So I have 11 equals 11/12 x. To get x all by itself, I either divide by 11/12 or multiply by 12/11. That'll get the x all alone. And we get x equals 12. I would check it. If this was an actual quiz, I would definitely check and make sure that's correct before handing that in. In a rational equation, we usually like to get rid of all those denominators. So you multiply everything by the common denominator, the x plus 2 times x. Okay? So I'm going to multiply this side by x plus 2, and I'm going to multiply this side by x plus 2. When I do that, when I multiply this term, the x plus 2's cancel. Do you see that? So I just have x times x, which is x squared, minus, when I multiply the 3 over x times this, the x's cancel. So I have 3 times x plus 2. And on the other side, I have 1 times x plus 2. I'm not going to write the 1. Okay, so I have x squared minus 3x minus 6. Be careful when you distribute -3 through, you get -6. And we distribute the x and get x squared plus 2x. The beauty of multiplying by the common denominator is that you end up with an equation with no denominators, right? Because each time you multiply, the denominator crosses out as part of it. And then you do have to multiply the old numerator by whatever's left. Okay, we'll get our x squareds on one side, which basically wipes those out. X squared minus x squared is 0. I have -3x minus 6 equals 2x. I'm going to add 3x over here, again, keeping my x's positive, and then divide by 5. So I get x equals -6/5. Now, I definitely check answers when it's a rational equation because it could lead to an extraneous solution. What if I would have gotten an answer of x equals -2? And then I noticed, gee, if I put -2 in for x, -2 plus 2 gives me 0 in the denominator. I would have to say, actually, this is an inconsistent equation, meaning there's no solution. Okay, a consistent equation means you got a solution, 1 or 2, and a finite number of solution. An inconsistent equation means you did not find a solution, or there's no solution. And an identity is that it works for everything. Okay, so make sure you realize that. These, so far I have conditional equations here. These are both conditional. In other words, we got an answer. I'm sorry, not conditional. Consistent. These are both consistent equations. Consistent means we got an answer. Inconsistent means we did not, or it's no solution. Absolute value equations, we have to isolate the absolute value first. And then whatever is inside the absolute value, which in our case is 2x minus 1, that is either equal to positive 3, just like it says here, or it's equal to negative 3. Okay, because the absolute value of negative 3 would also be 3. So you have to solve those two little equations. 2x equals 4, so x equals 2. On this side, I add 1 and get 2x equals negative 2. X equals negative 1. This is a conditional equation. This is a true equation as long as x is either 2 or negative 1. Okay, so I didn't show you any identities or no solutions. So maybe go back and double check that for a review. Okay, the equation of the circle below, write the equation with the given diameter. What we have to do here, guys, to write an equation of a circle, remember you need two things. You need the center, which we call HK, the XY coordinate of the center, they label HK, and the radius. Okay, so like the center's around here, I'm just eyeballing it, and this distance is the radius. Okay, we need those two things. Well, I can find the center by finding the midpoint of the diameter. So I'm going to add my x coordinates together, negative 7 and 2. Cut that in half. So that's negative 2.5. I'm going to add my y coordinates together and divide that by 2. So it looks like my center is negative 2.5, comma 2. Negative 2.5, 2. Yeah, I was pretty close there, huh? So far my equation is x minus negative 2.5 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals, I don't know what that equals. What's going on here? It equals whatever the radius is. To figure out the radius, I do have to do the distance formula. So all I know is it's x, minus a negative. Let's not write that. Let's write x plus 2.5 or 2.5 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals whatever the radius is, and then I'm going to square it. So to find the radius, I'm going to use the distance formula. Distance between any 2 points is the square root of the x coordinates subtracted plus the y coordinates subtracted, and then you square them each. So this is negative 2.5 minus 2 is negative 4.5. We'll have to square that. 2 minus 4 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. Now, I'm not sure what negative 4.5 squared is. Are you? Let's do that on the calculator, okay? Negative 4.5 squared. Negative 4.5 squared is negative 20.25. So I'm going to have oopsies, that's not right. Sorry, I didn't notice that I didn't put that in parentheses. I have to take negative 4.5 in parentheses squared. I should be getting positive 20.25. Then I'm going to add 4 to that. That's 24.25. Okay, now look, this is kind of interesting. what I'm going to do then, I'm saying that the distance is the square root of 24.25, right? Well, in the formula, okay, in other words, this is the radius. The radius is square root of 24.25, but then I'm going to square that square root. So in the end, my actual equation is x plus 2.5 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 24.25. That's the radius squared. Okay, so make sure you can do something like that. To find the center and radius, you need to put it in the right form. So I have x squared minus 5x plus something, I'm not sure what, plus y squared, plus 8y, plus something, I'm not sure what, equals -2. Remember the completing the square? Okay, so I got my x's together. I added, I subtracted 5x over here. I got my y's together. I added 8y over with the y squared. And the -2 I just left here. To complete the square, you take half the middle term, half of 5, and square it. That's 25/4. Well, whatever I add to one side, I have to add to the other. Half of 8 is 4. 4 squared is 16. I'm going to add that to both sides. The reason we do that is now I can write this as x minus 5/2 squared. I can write this as y plus 4 squared. Okay? That's another way of writing this. I'm putting it in the formula for a circle so I can find the center and radius. I'm going to do this addition. -2 plus 25/4 plus 16. Let's see what we have over here. Looks like we have 20.25. I don't know why I must really like that number. 20.25. So now I know what the center is. The center is 2.5, -4. Okay, because this must be y minus -4. The radius is whatever the square root of 20.25 is. Square root of 20.25 is 4.5. Okay. All right, next, graphs of lines. We have slope-intercept form. Please make sure that you can graph something in slope-intercept form. I can see that the y-intercept, if I put 0 in for x, I get -4 for y. 0, -4 is a point. The slope is 2/3. That tells me I can go up 2 over 3, up 2 over 3, up 2 over 3, as many times as I want. And that's my line, if I was asked to graph it. If I was asked to put it in standard form, I would have to get the x over on the other side by subtracting it. And in standard form, you're not allowed to have fractions. So I'm going to multiply everything by 3. You're also not allowed to start off with the x term being negative. So I'm going to multiply everything by -1. That's the same line, just in standard form. Okay, we'll come back and do the rest of this in a minute.